Good evening and welcome everybody to our regular meeting of the Poway Unified School District this November 8, 2018. It is 6:02 p.m. Before we get started with this evening's agenda, I'd like to point out that earlier this month a violent act of hatred took 11 innocent lives. The victims of the Tree of Life synagogue shooting ranged in ages from 54 to 97. They were brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, husbands, wives, who were targeted because of their religion. Our hearts go out to the victims' families as they mourn the loss of their loved ones. I echo Dr. Phelps' recent message in saying, we as educators and families must come together to choose kindness over hate, teach and model tolerance and respect for our future generations, and remain vigilant against any threats. Please join me in a moment of silence for the victims of the Pittsburgh synagogue shooting, as well as the victims of last night's senseless shooting in Thousand Oaks, California, including Ventura County Sheriff Sergeant Ron Hellis, who sacrificed his life for the sake of others. Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you for that. Clerk Sellers, please report out a closed session.
Closed session began at 4:14 p.m. Item 2.1-A1 in the matter of pending existing litigation case number 2018-060727 on a motion by Zane and a second by O'Connor Ratcliffe, the board voted to approve a final settlement of $18,000. The board vote was 4 in favor, 1 absent, that being myself, Mr. Sellers. Item 2.1-A-2, the matter of pending existing litigation case number 2018-070953 on a motion by Beatty and a second by O'Connor Ratcliffe. The board voted to approve a final settlement of $11,500. The board vote was unanimous. Somebody just lost their tips. Item 2.1-A-3, the matter of pending existing litigation case number 2018-070963 on a motion by Patel and a second by Beatty. The board voted to approve a final settlement of $8,500. The vote of the board was unanimous. Item 2.4-A, there was nothing to report, and no other reportable action was taken during closed session, which adjourned at 4:45 p.m.
Thank you, Mr. Sellers. Please note all members are in attendance this evening. And at this time, I'd like to ask our student board rep, Mr. Schwartz, to welcome the public.
Welcome to the monthly meeting of the Board of Education. If you'd like to address the board on any agenda item, please complete a speaker's slip. All requests to speak must be submitted to the clerk of the board before the agenda item comes up. If you are requesting an agenda item be pulled for public discussion from Section 5.0 Consent Calendar, a speaker slip must be submitted to the clerk now, as approval of the consent calendar is one of the first items up for approval. Item 4.2 is placed on our agenda to enable members of our community to bring items that are not placed anywhere else on the agenda to the board's attention. Speaking time is limited to 3 minutes per speaker with a maximum of 15 minutes per topic unless waived by the board president. There will be a 30-second yellow warning light when the time is running out. Speakers may only speak on one topic under item 4.2 and may not defer their speaking time to another individual. If there are concerns regarding specific individuals, it is preferred that the speaker refrain from naming them publicly to respect their privacy. The board will accept and review any written materials that would provide more specific information. The Brown Act does not permit board action or extended discussion of any item not on the agenda, but your concerns will be referred to staff. With that said, thank you and welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. That takes us to item 3.5, approval of agenda sequence. Please note that we are pulling item 7.1 from the agenda by staff for further review. Is there a motion for approval of the agenda or sequence?
Motion to approve. Second.
It's approved by Dr. Patel, second by Ms. Connor-Ratcliffe. Discussion? Board Member Schwartz, preferential vote? Favor?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. That takes us to item 4.1, our student representative reports. And we'll start with Sean Fallon from Poway High School. Welcome.
Good evening once again, board members. It's been a pleasure to be reporting to you guys, and it's a pleasure once again. I would like to start out right where I left off at the last meeting with our annual homecoming dance at the Air and Space Museum. We had an extremely successful Spirit Week, an extremely successful homecoming assembly, and homecoming dance, for which we sold a little under 1,100 tickets. And considering that's about half of our student body at Poway High School, I think it's fair to say we did pretty well. Everything went well, except for the pesky thunder and lightning that caused us to have to end our homecoming game after the first quarter and cancel our entire post-game show. I was very proud of our response, however, and we've come up with a lot of creative solutions to represent our Titan ambassadors at this year's basketball season. Speaking of winter sports, just about all of our programs have begun their tryouts or first practices and could not be more excited for the upcoming seasons. All the while, our field hockey, girls cross country, and football teams have won their league championships and are preparing along with the boys water polo team for CIF playoffs. Poway recently held one of its 2 yearly blood drives, this time collecting nearly 40 units of blood. For those who don't know, that's enough to touch the lives of about 120 people. With this astounding success, we had plenty of momentum as we begun our Start With Hello campaign this year, a program designed to combat the issues of social isolation amongst teens. The idea here, as I'm sure most of you already know, is to stop potential tragedies at their root by making sure that every student feels included at Poway High School. While this is a lot easier said than done, Poway has made tremendous leaps towards this goal with our week-long campaign, and I'm looking forward to our next venture into this area. Our theater program recently premiered their rendition of You Can't Take It With You, a hilarious comedy that is recognized as one of the most produced school plays since the 1930s. And along with their success, our Emerald Brigade, which is our Poway High School marching band, has attended numerous tournaments in the greater San Diego area and has had a fantastic season. As we close out on this week in this trimester, we finish up our Thanksgiving-themed canned food drive. Yes, I said Thanksgiving-themed. This year, we asked all our homeroom classes to put together a Thanksgiving basket chock full of common holiday foods that one might find, like green beans, stuffing, cornbread, gravy, whatever you think, it's on there. With all of our homeroom classes involved, we are really hoping to get an excess of baskets to help any families in need this holiday season. And as we look forward, we have our finals looming overhead. Worry not, the Poway High students are ready. And as another successful finals week will inevitably come to an end, we gear up for the week-long break and prepare ourselves for lots of family, friends, and food. Thank you, and I hope you all have a wonderful break.
Thank you very much. Leaves us with Sydney Roberts from Richmond High School. Welcome.
Hello, good evening, board members, and thank you all for having me here tonight. Our hardworking students and staff at RB are looking forward to a well-deserved Thanksgiving break, as everyone has been very productive this past month. The Bronco players put on the play Almost Maine, which was a huge success, and the first for our new drama and theater teacher, Miss Merriweather. Our girls golf team won their 3rd consecutive CIF championship and remain undefeated. They are headed to the state tournament. Our choir had a fall concert in October, and the Madrigals performed last week at Point Loma Nazarene University and are now getting ready for their holiday concert. The Royal Regiment had a fantastic performance at the Mira Mesa tournament, where they won sweepstakes for visual and musical performance, as well as percussion. Color Guard won 1st in their division. ASB held a Halloween costume contest, which got our students excited for the fall season. We held our annual Red Ribbon Week with different seminars and spirit days during the week to promote awareness of drug and alcohol abuse. Students pledged to live a drug-free life. After Red Ribbon Week, we held a Reality Week put on by Student Support Services, where each day there was a different presentation from professionals related to the dangers of drugs, alcohol, vaping, and anxiety and depression. All of our fall sports have finished with the exception of girls golf, cross country, and our tennis individuals. This week is our Human Relations Conference, where our sophomores get to hear a speaker and engage in activities that bring them together as a class and break down barriers. Many of our juniors and seniors return to the seminar to help facilitate. ASB is planning our winter formal, which will be held at our school's gym on January 26th. On Friday, we'll be honoring our veterans and active duty RB family members with flags around campus and a lunchtime activity in our quad for students to express their gratitude. The Student Support Services is getting ready for our Adopt a Family program, where students, staff, and parents can donate holiday gifts to local families in need. Our ASB class always adopts a family, and we go shopping for the families, which is always a super fun team bonding event for us, so I'm looking forward to that. The Fight Against Hunger Club is also running a Thanksgiving canned food drive, and the winning class gets a pizza party. We just finished our first quarter and have started the second quarter of the term. We'll be holding our Silver Star Awards next week for students who received a 4.0 GPA last year. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to returning in January for my winter report.
Thank you very much. Is there anything students won't do for free pizza? I mean, just anything, really anything. We will not be hearing from Westview High School this month. We will have Abraxas, Del Norte, Mount Carmel, and Westview at next month's board meeting. So thank you very much. And you're free to stay or to go, but thank you very much. That takes us to item 4.2, public comments. Clerk Sellers.
First speaker is Greg Strachan.
Good evening, Greg Strachan. First, I'd like to congratulate Mr. Zane and Ms. O'Connor-Ratcliffe on their re-elections, as well as Mrs. Corvette for her election to the Poway Unified School District Board of Education. Mrs. Beatty, I'm shocked and appalled at your recent actions. For someone who touts themselves as being a board member with integrity and honesty, you have proven yourself far from that. There's a video which we believe clearly captures your decision to run around town, going door to door, orchestrating a smear campaign with flyers not registered with the Fair Political Practices Commission against current board members, and that's one thing. But choosing to do so wearing our blue PFT shirt is both unethical and 100% deceptive. That shirt was given to you a few years ago, along with all other board members, by our president, Kelly Logan, as a sign of our collaborative partnership, which we have with most of our board members. You chose to use that shirt as a part of your blatant attempt to disguise yourself as something you are far from ever being, a Poway Unified School District educator. There is no spin to this story. There is no justifiable rationale for your actions. You went out into this community, potentially broke the law, and lied, and it is all captured on video. That video confirms what many in our district have long suspected. You are a hypocrite and not fit to represent the great Poway Unified School District in any capacity. Tonight, as a teacher, community member, and most importantly, as a parent in PUSD, I call for your immediate resignation. Thank you.
The next speaker is Stan Rodkin.
Stan Rodkin, Rancho Penasquitos. First, I want to congratulate the winners of the election, especially Ginger Corvette. She's the only one not bought and paid for by the teachers union. It was fun. I thought I might make the Guinness Book of Records as the oldest board member ever, but I didn't count on the teachers union spending an incredible amount of money to buy the election for my opponent. One of the old timers must have tipped the union off that my vote was never for sale. Michelle, I remember your dad as a baseball coach at Mount Carmel. I hope he and your mom are well. I believe your mother was also a teacher there. I enjoyed the race and I learned a few things. I learned that the union was willing to spend an exorbitant amount of money to buy and pay for one board member. It's a fact. All the parents and other constituents need to do is pull up the Registrar of Voters site and read the financial disclosures. It will be interesting to see what happens when those chickens come home to roost. Payback time, that is. Then I also learned by watching board member Seller's interview with Mr. Riley that the district is paying full salaries to 4 teachers on release to do union work. I know teaching is hard work. All those kids to control, papers to correct, and so forth. Union work must be much more relaxing. Don't get me wrong. Unions have a place in our society. They got us a 40-hour work week. They forced the railroad robber barons, to put safety equipment on the freight trains. They also turned Detroit into a wasteland of closed factories and boarded up homes with their excessive demands. In my other life, I once sat in on PFT negotiations to educate myself. The first order of business was try to think of what else we can possibly ask for, which, by the way, is incorrect grammar. Then someone wanted to put a time limit on repair if an air conditioner broke down. What if the part wasn't available? Or there was a real emergency somewhere else drawing off resources? I admire and respect teachers. They're the beating heart of the system. It's the unions and some of their tactics that I have problems with. Again, 4 people on release to do union work. How many more will the union demand? And why is PUSD paying their salaries out of taxpayer money? 4 of them, and to get those jobs, they must be senior people with pretty high salaries. So with benefits, that's close to $500,000 taxpayer dollars. $500,000 which could and should be put to use for the 35,000 plus students. I'm all for teachers abandoning the classroom for less demanding union work if that's what they want to do. The ones that do that probably found they weren't cut out to be teachers anyway and are looking for a cushy job and retirement at taxpayers' expense. But the union should pay their salaries, not the students. What else are the union dues used for except to buy school board members? Oh, and Charles, when are we going to have those?
The next speaker is Janet Latang.
Good evening, Superintendent Kim Phelps, Superintendent's Council, and trustees. Tonight, I would like to comment that I'm disappointed that the irrevocable trust plan is not on this month's agenda. As part of the discussion from the October board meeting, item 7.2, Trustee O'Connor-Radcliffe commented that she would like to see the irrevocable trust come back for this agenda as an action item. Trustee Patel commented that she felt that the irrevocable trust would be the best practice, and Trustee Beatty asked to look at 2 or 3 trusts for where to start. That is the majority of the trustees asking for this item to be on this month's agenda. I have to assume that work is being done behind the scene to examine the irrevocable trust options for our district. Trustees, if it's not an option to discuss at this board meeting, I'm asking that you all ask for the irrevocable trust options to be placed on the board agenda for the December board meeting. The discussion needs to begin now so PSD has a better fiscal plan for funding over $9 million yearly in OPEB liability. Finally, congratulations to Ms. Corvette and congratulations to Trustee O'Connor-Radcliffe and Zane on your reelection. The voters appreciate your commitment to serve another 4 years on the board as our voice for POSD. Thank you. And thank you to Trustee Sellers for your service these past 4 years for our POSD community. I have greatly appreciated your accounting expertise on the school board. I have learned much from your comments, including discussions on booking liability, pre-funding, real money, service costs, and creating an accounting entry that looks more favorable. Thank you very much for your service. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Next speaker is Eric Bruvold.
Superintendent, Chairman Zane, other trustees of the Poway Unified School District. I'm excited that you guys pulled item 7.1, and I think that that was the right thing. And I would hope that in this public comment you'll think about at least 3 things that you may want to encourage staff to do in its staff report as it moves forward. One of the things that this district needs to do, I think it's done, Superintendent Phelps, you've done a great job of moving forward on that, but we still have community trusts to rebuild. And we have community trusts to rebuild for, frankly, I know it'll be unpopular, but we've got long-term financial problems in the district that probably will require some of the things that we might need to do, whether it's a parcel tax or others that are going to require a lot of rebuilding. And so in that respect, let's look at the 3 things that we could do better in that staff report. One, if you're going to suggest that taking money from the Mello-Roos, by the way, I pay $4,800 in Mello-Roos to Poway Unified from a 4S ranch in kind of middle market where that community is. Let's identify why those things over at Poway High and RB High actually are critical, that there aren't any other funding mechanisms to do to make those renovations that are required. Secondly, let's take a look at the financing plan for dealing with the overcrowding that's going on right now in Forest Ranch. We've got a new middle school building. You guys are going to be moving a daughter with special ed needs into portable classrooms. I hope it doesn't lead to a due process hearing, but it might, since she's got auditory processing deficit issues, and I'm not sure a portable classroom works for it, but we can cross that at another time in another setting. But irrespective of that, let's really identify the financing plan for the improvements that were made at Stone Ranch, that are going to be made at Oak Valley, and that probably need to also be made at Monterey Ridge, since we still have a crowding problem there. And then third, and this gets a little bit beyond, so I understand staff has limited time, but let's really look at D39. Is D39 working as it was intended when we were going to do education differently to relieve overcrowding? We know that there were a lot of families, it seems, though I think a staff report is appropriate there, that moved their children from D39 in the 5th to 6th year transition. And that's why we had the largest 6th grade class ever in the history of Oak Valley, why we had to split 6th grade camp into 2 sessions, with the second session being called the Left Behinds by the other students. Look, I understand crowding happens, but it's important for us to really ask that question of whether D39 as it was designed is doing what it was supposed to do, or whether we need to have a frank discussion about how we're dealing with overcrowding in 4S. So thank you very much, and again, thank you for polling for an opportunity for a greater community dialogue on a really important issue. I think there are 4,884 reasons why I care about it. And since I have one last, maybe I'll get red lighted, but one last thing, since you have it on the agenda. You should really ask staff, and Charles, you could make just 1 second, make a great difference.
Thank you, Mr. Approval. Appreciate it.
Next speaker is Tova Terranova.
Hi, board members. My name is Tova Terranova, and I'm still here, still advocating for safety within the district, just much like you are as well. What efforts have already been made for the safety committee and community at large? I would like to thank and commend Mr. Greg Mizell and all of his efforts, in addition to those that tirelessly serve around this cause. If we've not yet had the pleasure of meeting, I'll tell you here, I'm very passionate about this issue and about school safety, about community involvement, and the city safety, as well as our larger state of California, as highlighted in today's news. Not because it's a hot topic, not because I'm seeking any of the attention, but because it is a frank conversation that we need to have amongst the elders of our community. And I'm really passionate about it. It's extraordinarily unique and the need for all of the educational system to work together as a whole is extraordinarily important, and that's where I come in. I just want everybody to be able to communicate well together. It's our job to protect the students. It's our job to nurture them and encourage their growth. But where do we start? Education and training are top bill, but ultimately we have a very long conversation to have here. The Sandy Hook Promise and the board brief monthly newsletter, stories, podcasts, and additional newsworthy efforts to bring a higher level of communication with the participants within the district are fantastic. And I'm very grateful, above all things, for what you are already doing. But I stand here to press on and to ask you for more attention, for more detail. And I sincerely believe that we are much more than the sum of our deficits. This district in specific has its own strengths and weaknesses. It is unique and unlike any other school district in our nation. That said, we have a unique ability to literally write the book here, okay, on how schools across the nation address school safety, how we stop school shootings, how we render aid to childhood depression and anxiety, to how we move forward in a society news-wise wants us to move backwards in. And I refuse to move backwards. Sincerely, we have the best level opportunity here to start something that could really be newsworthy for the next generation. As a parent, it's extraordinarily important, and I ask you to continue to press on. And I see I'm orange lit already, so I'm going to go straight to my ask. The Bible says you have not because you ask not. So today I ask, no cell phones in the classroom. Please protect your administrators and protect your students. Also, we need to make every campus a closed campus. Protect your administrators and the student body as a whole. And even though my microphone may dissipate, I don't want the sound of my voice to be unheard. We need a voice for these two.
Ma'am, can you finish, please? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. You may actually want to stick around for an agenda. We're going to have our safety and security assessment review. That's on tonight's agenda, if you hadn't seen that. So thank you. Mr. Sellers?
The next speaker is James Langley.
Good evening, Unified School District trustees, Dr. Phelps, cabinet members, administrations in attendance. I'm here to speak on behalf of myself. I'm James Langley. I'm a board member for Big Brothers Big Sisters, the Downtown Partnership, the Navy SEAL Foundation, Point Loma Nazarene Alumni in Business, and a business owner of over 30 different companies in San Diego. I'm here to speak on behalf of Rancho and myself, and as a parent of 2 kids in the Poway Unified School District. We're here to speak on the activities of a current board member, handing out door hangers and disparaging mischaracterization of Mr. Zane and Ms. O'Connor Ratcliffe. This alleged activity could be deemed illegal by the FPPC, and when the complaint is reviewed, this board member's activities on the distributing of door hangers was not only caught on film cameras, but it was on Ring video and their door hangers in their possessions. I personally appalled. When I first saw the door hangers, I actually talked to my daughters about how defacing a person's face is horrible and embarrassing, and to find out it came from a board member is appalling and frankly terrifying, really. This is a school board dirty politics, a smear campaign. It doesn't belong in such a sanctum. It needs to be off limits. Board members are elected to work in forward progress and initiatives with Dr. Phelps for the good of the families and the teachers and the administrators of the Unified School District. If the California Fair Political Practices Commission finds the alleged activities illegal, the consequences for this alleged action of the board member needs to be swift, decisive, and at minimum be rebuked. Thank you for your time, best wishes, and thank you all for what you do. And it's a tough job, and really appreciate all of your support and for the kids, and what you guys do is incredible. And I'm obviously here to support and want to be around and I hope that you guys can make a decision that's in the best interest of your board and its integrity. So thank you all for your time.
The last speaker is Carrie Wesson.
Hello, thank you for your time. I also have, talking about the flyers, I've got some pictures from the ring, as well as this one's Ned, this one's Kimberly. Just wanted to say that we should have more openness, and I don't really like what's going on. I grew up going to Canyon View and all the way through Mount Carmel, and just like my dad taught public school. It's a special ed teacher, so it kind of means a lot to me. And basically, defamatory actions and against, you've heard it before, the FTP, I forgot the initials, FPPC elections, and basically just wanted to get out there and let people know that this isn't something that we support, and I don't think we should be a part of it, and hopefully the person kind of goes away. So thank you very much, and there's a lot of defamatory actions, and hopefully we can eliminate that going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sellers, are there any additional speakers? No, Thank you. That takes us to item 4.3, Everyday Heroes Classified Employee Recognition Program. Associate Superintendent Jimenez.
Thank you, President Zane. At this time, it is my pleasure to present our Team PUSD and Everyday Heroes Awards. As the superintendent and board president go in front of the dais, I'd also like to invite any personnel commissioners who are in attendance this evening, the director of the Personnel Commission, Ms. Casey Martinez, and PSA President Courtney Davis Martin up to the front of the room. We'll begin with Everyday Heroes. If I call your name, please come up along with your supervisor if they are present to be recognized and receive your certificate this evening. Everyday Heroes honors classified employees who demonstrate excellence in work performance, school and community involvement, and leadership and commitment to our district and our students. Our first Everyday Hero is Mr. Jerry Sampson. Jerry is an instructional assistant 2 in special education at Abraxas High School. For the past 4 years, Jerry has overseen a unique ink cartridge recycling program for Abraxas High's transition program. Working with a team of 4 to 5 students with special needs, Jerry and his students make professional presentations to schools and businesses in the community. The students then sort and process empty ink cartridges for reimbursement, and the proceeds go back to the school. Jerry has also made numerous adaptive equipment and accommodation tools for the students so they can maximize their independence. Congratulations. Our next Everyday Hero is Miss Lisa Nakuten. Lisa is the school administrative assistant at Creekside Elementary School. Lisa understands the importance of meeting students' social, emotional needs so they are more successful at school. Lisa has started programs such as the Open Mic Talent Show, as well as a new play zone on the playground and new family orientation to increase engagement and participation at the school. She also mentors new classified staff through the district's mentoring program. Congratulations, Lisa. And now on to the Team PUSD Awards. Team POSD is designed to recognize an admirable team of employees who together accomplish an exceptional task or project. The recognition is for a group of 2 or more classified and/or certificated individuals who have made a significant contribution. If I call your name, please come up along with your supervisor if they are present to be recognized and receive your certificate. Our first Team POSD are 3 individuals. Mr. David Fisher, Orlando Uribe, and Philip DeFalco. David is a senior publications technician, and Orlando and Philip are both publications technicians. The Pubs team produces quality prints and completes jobs with limited time and often with limited resources. When they are faced with broken machines, they do the work manually, staying late hours and coming on the weekend to meet their deadlines. This team always has a positive attitude and serves the district needs with top-notch customer service. Congratulations to this excellent team. Our next Team POSD group, Ms. Gail Ching and Kathy Guinea. Both Gail and Kathy serve as Instructional Assistant 2s in special education at Abraxas High School. Gail and Kathy taught themselves Google Docs and developed applications that can be used by multiple people to track transition students' progress. Now, each of the IEP goals for the 82 students in the transition program can be followed on staff's smartphones or computers, with the information automatically graphed and compiled for their teachers. Congratulations. Our next Team POSD are 2 individuals, Mr. Nick Navarez and Gabriella Egan. Nick and Gabriella are both teachers at Del Norte High School. Nick and Gabby work tirelessly after hours to guide and encourage Del Norte's Link Crew program, which consists of over 100 student leaders who guide and support incoming freshmen. They also plan inclusive events for all students, including those with special needs, to engage as many Nighthawks as possible in school culture and spirit. They hosted the Link Crew conference this year with over 7 schools and 300 students attending. Their volunteerism and work ethic are an inspiration to their colleagues. Congratulations to both of you. Congratulations once again to our Everyday Heroes and Team POSD recipients.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jimenez. And congratulations to all of the recipients. Nice work. To item 5.1, the approval of the consent calendar. Is there a motion for approval? Thank you very much.
We have one item.
The items to pull. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'll start down the line. Mr. Schwartz? No,
No.
Okay. Mr. Conrad-Radcliffe? Ms. Beatty?
Yes, I would like to pull 5.3A, B, and D.
5.3A, B, and D. Thank you. Mr. Sellers?
No items.
Dr. Patel?
No items.
All right, with that, with the exception of items 5.3A, B, and D, is there a motion for approval?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Dr. Patel, second by Mr.
Conrad-Radcliffe.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. And we will go straight to item 5.3A.
Thank you, Trustee Zane. This is our monthly request for approval and ratification of our contractual services report.
Ms. Beatty.
Okay, I think I just had one issue for discussion. I had brought it up in during our agenda review, and that was the contracts numbers 1 and 9 for Hanover Research and Thought Exchange. And they're somewhat duplicitous. It looks like Hanover Research, we've already paid the bill. That one goes from now until next November, and it wasn't clear from the contract. There was a link for further information on the service agreement, and it wasn't clear from that contract language if we could cut short the contract if need be, because it looks like there's some overlap between Thought Exchange and with some of the services that are provided. So that was one of my questions, is their work, some of their work appears to be somewhat duplicitous, and if so, and it seems reasonable that there's a transition period as we're perhaps implementing the Thought Exchange. That was my first question, and then the second part of it is Thought Exchange does sound like a definite improvement over the current process we've utilized, SurveyMonkey, et cetera. It does sound like a Cadillac plan, though. The price tag's fairly steep to continue that on an annual basis. So the second part of it is, have we looked at similar programs that perhaps aren't quite as expensive?
Thank you. So we are looking at that. In fact, talked with another district today regarding their use of both, and they had asked the same question: is having Hanover and Thought Exchange duplicating? Hanover is really our research base, and they do surveys that help us get input from stakeholders on specific items, and then they also provide research reports for us. We are currently looking and reviewing to determine, are there other service agencies that could perform that work of research reports and surveys that would be at a much lower cost? And so I have meetings scheduled with another company that could serve that at a much reduced fee. The Thought Exchange is very unique because what they do is not a survey. It's really about creating transparent dialogue across school communities for our LCAP service. So in the past, we have done the paper pencil charts, and then we've sent those to Hanover. We will no longer be using Hanover for that aspect, so that is where we did use them for LCAP, but they serve other supports as well, such as our VAPA Strategic Arts Committee is currently using the Hanover to provide a survey to all stakeholders, parents and community and teachers, staff around our VAPA program. They do surveys and then create reports based on that information. Thought Exchange is it expands the conversation around LCAP across our school communities. So instead of only hearing from parents within my school where I attend, I can now have ideas across the district and we can have conversations and collaboration across the entire district from a phone. And so that will increase the input, and then Thought Exchange will also be able to analyze that input, align to our LCAP goals, and provide next steps for revising and updating our LCAP based on that input. I spoke with Chula Vista, who uses Thought Exchange. They went from just over 300 parents participating in their LCAP forum before Thought Exchange to now each year they have over 3,000. And it is where ideas are generated and people can see what others are thinking and have agreement and star those ideas and also put new ideas on the table. So this will be a unique opportunity for all of our 39 school communities to hear what each other is thinking and share and give input on those ideas. So they are very different services, but we are looking at reducing or what other options for some of the research work and the survey work, which Hanover does. We are looking at something that is less cost effective.
Thank you. I appreciate all that information. And I had a quick follow-up based on the way you described the thought exchange, because there were some parents who felt when the LCAP, when they were answering the LCAP questionnaire, they thought that the answers were going straight to their principal at their particular school site, and they had issues that were germane to that school site. And you talked about, the cross-pollination of all the different ideas. Does it at the same time also allow for a single school site to get the feedback that's just germane to that site?
That was one of the questions that we asked when we were reviewing this tool. And so we're able to define the demographic information that as people participate, we'll be able to gather which school they represent, so that we'll be able to provide some of that information as well, and gather the if it's site specific, so that we can provide that information.
Thank you.
With that, is there a motion for approval on this item?
I will move to approve.
Okay, I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 5.3A, or B, excuse me.
Yes, thank you, President Zane. This is our monthly request for the board to ratify district purchase orders in excess of $5,000.
Thank you. Ms. Beatty.
And again, this was a question I brought up in my agenda review, and I think most of it may have been answered. I had counted roughly about $140,000 in teacher professional development, and I think some of it was broken up by department. So I'm not sure if I have much of a follow-up. Let me just look at the items. Oh, yes, actually, I think those questions for the most part answered, and the other issue was Mr. Sellers had actually brought it up, and that was item number 32. I don't know if you want to speak to that. Is the California School Boards Association, the $6,000 purchase order for the policy maintenance. Mr. Sellers had said he hadn't recalled the board wanting to move forward with that additional expense from CSBA, which was an ongoing expense.
My understanding is, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Phelps, is that this is the gamut subscription rolled in with the board policy maintenance, and that it's not really possible to separate them, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so that's the rationale there. I don't recall addressing it specifically either, but I do understand at least why we're spending the money on it. Thank you.
Without it, we would go back to what we were before all the work that the board spent all that money in updating all the policies, and there would be no way for us to stay up to date on all the changes in the various policies.
Can I just clarify that? Because I had gone back. I had worked with Mr. Turk from California School Boards Association for 2 years in the process of trying to overhaul our policies to the model CSBA policies. So I had gone back to the proposal that he had provided. So our then current service, which I guess is, I don't know if this is brand new, then our current service, which is Gamut Online, access to the model policies, is $5,250. And then the manual maintenance and the current service is $11,000. So I believe this line item 32 is just for the annual maintenance. So we had two options at that point. He said they come out, I think it's quarterly, they come out with updated policies based on new California law. And we had two options. They could send us a notification that there were new updated policies, and our staff could then download those and incorporate it into our policies, or they could do it for us. And in reading the the additional features that come with this $6,000 cost, it doesn't look like we're going to make that much use of this. It doesn't seem worth the cost to me. So I would like to reevaluate this. And if this is the description of the services that they provide, and it looks like, you know, they have access. In this case, they'd have access to our policies, and then they would go in our online policies, and they'd go in and change them themselves. But with the district our size, it doesn't seem inconceivable that we couldn't do that ourselves. And if anyone wants to take a look at this, I can pass it down. No, it's...
I believe what they're providing us is sort of a hybrid of the two. So they're giving us, full access to Gamut online. They're providing more.
Well, Gamut we already have. That's what we. That's not
part
the
of this, as well as giving us the most current updates on policies as they change. To Superintendent Phelps' point, to keep us current with the policies. They're not going to go in and change our policies. They're simply notifying us of changes to their policy templates.
But that one's about 2 years old, and Gamut alone on that one is $5,000. So it couldn't be that this includes Gamut.
This includes Gamut, yes, and as well as the notification of policy changes vis-a-vis their templates. That's what we're getting for the $62.95.
Okay. It sounds like I misunderstood then what the features were. I thought this was, as it's described there, that combined program. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
No further questions. So if no one else has any questions, I will move to approve.
I'll second. Conversation? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 5.3D.
We have one public speaker on this topic. It's Janet Latang.
Thank you. Ms. Latang.
Evening again, Superintendent Kim Phelps, Superintendent's Council, and trustees. I have a couple of questions about the monthly budget revisions that I hope at least one of the trustees would ask for further confirmation or information. I personally would appreciate hearing an explanation for the Prop 39 California Clean Energy one-time funding listed in both revenues and changes in expenditures for $3.4 million. I'd just like to learn more about that. Also, I would like to note that the budget includes an increase in expenditures of over $86,000 for an administrative assistant for the Director of Innovation and Technology. The October 2018 revised budget listed in item 5.3D, page 5 of 10, shows a net activity of a negative $16 million with a projected decrease of the district's reserves from $60 million to $44 million. The reserves are projected to decrease to $33 million in the 2019-2020 school year and $24 million in 2021. The reserves were at a $65 million number in 2017-18. It was page 5 of 10 in 5.3D. You okay? You got it? Okay, good. Okay. With the understanding that the school district budgets are quite complicated and volatile, and Mr. Little has referred to them as a roller coaster, which I greatly appreciate that analogy. Trustees, the POSD community is counting on the 5 of you for your oversight to keep an eye on the fiscal bottom line. We are counting on you to strive for fiscal responsibility for our district. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Little?
Yes, I'll start with the second question first. If you look at page 1 of 10, we provided a summary of our multi-year projections, and to Ms. Latang's point, we are projecting a $16 million deficit in the current year. However, $13 million of that is carryover from the prior year. So those are funds that were budgeted last year to be expended and that were not. So we bring them forward to this current year, and we put them in as expenditures in the current year with no offsetting revenues because we got the revenue last year. So If we were to back out, as you can see on page 1, the $13 million of carryover, we would be deficit spending this year of $3 million. That's not to diminish the fact that moving forward we have a structural deficit of $10 million, which we'll note in the out years. With respect to the Prop 39 money, correct me if I'm wrong, Director Coster, but I believe Prop 39 was a 5-year initiative. And each year the state would allocate a certain amount of money to school districts, and each year at the end of that year the states would assess how much money was left unspent, much like our carryover, and then they would reallocate it. So this current year, 2018-2019, we got an additional $3.4 million from the state for this one final year of the Prop 39 grant funds. So these were, again, excess dollars that were not spent in the prior 4 years. I don't know exactly what the formula is that the state uses to reallocate those, but our share of the reallocation of the carryover is worth $3.4 million. So we'll spend those monies this year to continue our energy efficiency projects, mostly around LED lighting at our schools. And if you want more information, I'm sure Director Coster could fill you in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Little. We'll take that actually as the introduction of the item and the responses to those questions as if they were my own. And I will turn them over to, turn this item over to Ms. Beatty because she pulled it. Ms. Beatty.
I think I just have one other question. So this relates to this one in the agenda item last month. I think it was around $2.5 million that was expended for health and welfare benefits for staff for this year to help defray costs. Is that incorporated in this revised budget? That was my first question. And then I had brought up the issue of the AB 1200, in which the superintendent and the chief business officer must certify to the county superintendent of education that the district can meet its financial obligations with the additional funds resulting from a collective bargaining agreement. So I wanted to find out where the AB 1200 stood as well. And then first question, where the $2.5 million is incorporated here.
With respect to your first question, I don't believe the amount was over $2 million. I think it was more like $1.3 million.
Okay.
And that's under, if you look at page 3 of 10, it's under the 3,000 object codes. If you look at employee benefits, PSCA Unit 1, Increased Cell Enhancement Plan Year 2019, that's worth about $675,000. And then PSCA Unit 2, Increases Cell Enhancement Plan, that's worth about $225,000. So those did make it into the budget. The other two pieces, which would make up the $1.3 million, are down below under the 8,000s. So there's an additional $269,000, an additional $90,000 being transferred in from other funds to also cover the cell enhancement. I'm sorry, your second question?
Oh, the second question was I had asked about the AB 1200 submittal to the county in order to certify our ability to meet our financial obligations.
So the AB 1200 applies to negotiated settlements. This we view as an MOU outside of the negotiation process, and so MOUs as a whole are not required to be reported on an AB 1200.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Beatty. Are there any other questions? Okay.
Move to approve.
Second. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you very much. That takes us to item 9.0. Mr. Mizell.
Thank you, President Zane. Tonight I'm pleased to introduce Mr. Nick Miller, Regional Vice President of Guidepost Solutions, who we worked closely with in completing school site safety assessments late last spring. Between the end of May and early June, the Guidepost Solutions team visited every school site in the district, walking campuses, examining the unique architectural design differences at each of our school sites, observing traffic patterns during student drop-off and pickup, interviewing staff members, and reviewing operational school site safety plan manuals and procedural guides. Additionally, the team also assessed safety protocols at both the Twin Peaks Center and the district office building. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Nick Miller of Guidepost Solutions, who will now present the Safety and Security Assessment Report created from his team's research, sharing key findings and recommendations for consideration by the board.
Good evening, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. Guidepost is a company nationally based. We're headquartered in New York City, and we specialize in security and technology consulting, and we have offices throughout the U.S., and we provide safety and school security assessments and design services at a national level. So some of the things that I think are important in our scope is our collective experience with a lot of different users, technology, market verticals, provided a holistic assessment approach for your project. We combined our security operational experience with our thorough understanding of the systems and the physical controls that support those operations. It's critical for an effective safety and security program to have an operational focus. And we often find school districts focused on implementing a technology solution without the operations to support the technology. And we commend PUSD on understanding the importance of a combined operational and physical security assessment and allowing us to do the right thing, which is to address both topics. So we had feet on the ground visiting all the PUSD school districts, as Greg said, and the Twin Peaks Center and plus the district office. We poured through hundreds of existing operational documents, policies, and procedures to make our recommendations. We interviewed key stakeholders at all levels within the district. We took photos of site findings, coordinated notes and photos with architectural drawings for every site, and incorporated our interview notes into a comprehensive report. Based on our experience and best practices, we've divided the Safety and Security Measures report into two sections. Section 1 is a conclusion and recommendation report. 2 is a specific site findings and action item report. Very importantly, we would recommend, based on our work at other schools, that the second report section not be made available to the public. This second report section provides photos, drawings, and observations of every security vulnerability at every building and should be held confidential. The first conclusion and recommendation report section addresses all the findings reported for each school. So, one slide, here we go. Most of our schools today, as you all know, were not designed and built with security in mind. It's very challenging to convert an open campus school in warm San Diego to have the appropriate levels of physical security for today's threat environment. This district has done a great job prior to our assessment in addressing these design challenges. You've invested in the appropriate secure campus fencing and gate controls to convert these historically open campuses to have appropriate access control. You consistently funnel visitors to a single point of entry. You're in the midst of expanding your video surveillance, which we also created a technology report to support your implementation. You have the safety and security operational policy framework in place. And most importantly, every staff member, teacher, and administrator we interviewed is focused on providing a safe and secure environment for your children. There's a great opportunity for the district management to take an increased role in collaboration with the schools. Communication is key to an appropriate security program and an effective, well-drilled security response. We found that not everyone was using the same documentation or using the same nomenclature for their security program. Education and communication are again key here. Everyone must be using the same terminology and performing the protocols in the same manner to maximize the effectiveness of the incident response. The report identifies gaps and makes specific recommendations. Within the differences at individual schools, we identified best practices that can be leveraged by the entire district as standards going forward. So, policy and procedures, we looked at increased site and district collaboration, consistent emergency management documents, safety and security nomenclature, and consistent lockdown protocols. So some of our other specific recommendations include standardized visitor management and also improvements to administration lobbies and single points of entry, additional and improved signage and wayfinding, very important that everyone knows where they need to go. Improved vehicle control measures. We've all seen issues around the drop-off and pick-off areas. Perimeter gate control, specific recommendations of what could be done to improve that. Exterior lighting recommendations. Brass key control measures and auditing. And brass keys is every school in the country's one of their biggest problems. So very important topic. Other things that we found, recommendations include standardized excuse me, I have to go to my next slide. Standardized security window treatments, door hardware modernization to new security standards. Many of you may know that what we used to call a security classroom or a classroom lock set in a school required the teacher to go to the outside of the door to lock the classroom, which is, going to the outside when you're trying to lock a door is actually ridiculous. So again, the new security standards for classroom function lock sets allow you to lock the door from the inside. We looked at automatic external defibrillators, AEDs, first aid kits, emergency supplies, fire extinguishers, fencing standards, vehicle barriers, identification badges, and mass notification systems. Again, identification badges are so important, and again, this is something that can be done consistently at all schools. So, thank you for engaging Guidepost in this important effort to further your safety and security program. And we really enjoyed working with all your people, and it's great to have such support around a security program, and security is going to really, it's about education, it's about everyone being on the same page and communicating these ideas. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we'll take an opportunity for some questions for those who may have them, but I'll begin by asking, I hope or expect that the board will be seeing a more detailed, I appreciate the overview, but I'd love to see some more detail on the report and all the hard work that you did. And the process of what you provided the district. Did you also happen to give any sort of estimates cost-wise for some of the improvements that you were suggesting?
We did, and we looked for again, systems that were already deployed. We found often things that were done really well in particular schools that could be leveraged. You already have investments in those systems. You know, we're agnostic about equipment, and that's one of the problems in schools. There's always someone wanting to sell something. We're looking for solutions, which is, I know, what you're looking for as well. So some great processes and things that you already have in place.
And I think you alluded to that earlier when you said some schools are doing things better than others, and those that are doing it better, you're suggesting what they're doing ought to be rolled out district-wide and become standard.
Well, that's right, and there's this opportunity is so fabulous because those that have really, have a great program together, they can be acknowledged, and wow, what a great program, and that creates peer understanding and helps that communication process. So I think there's a great opportunity for the district to take leadership in acknowledging those programs that work well and then using those as ongoing standards.
Additional questions?
I'm not really sure this is a question for you. I think maybe I'm looking up here now. I'm interested in what are we doing with this? What's our next step? Are we taking this to our safety committee to show them what's going on? When does the board get to see recommendations about what we budget for first? What's next?
That's a great question. So I think the first part is there's two parts to this report. There's section 1 that is for public, the public's purview, and then there's a second section that's confidential that I think obviously the school board needs to have access to. I think after we have had an opportunity to review this in its entirety, we can begin to backwards plan. Okay, so if this is the goal, what are our priorities? And through the report, actually Guidepost Solutions has helped us. They've helped identify some of the hot spots that they would recommend get our attention first. And so it's just now a matter of budgeting, right? How much do we have? What level can we get to immediately? What level do we need to stage in anticipation of future funding? And then what level is, a hope to get to as soon as we can, kind of a thing.
If I could add, I think one of the nice things that Guidepost did well was much like the Moss Adams report, they segregated their recommendations with respect to the impact. So is it high impact, moderate impact, low impact? So it sort of will help sort of identify where to put the resources and what priority.
One of the things I'd like to recommend in that regard is I appreciate we adopted the budget development calendar, and we may be looking to have a budget workshop in January. I would hope that we would be able to incorporate some of these suggestions, recommendations, findings into that budget workshop. So you'll do what you need to do before we take a look at it, and I don't want to have a conversation about the estimates for these changes after we've had our budget workshop.
I foresee our school site, our district safety committee also having a continuing role in this conversation.
I just wanted to thank staff. I think the board has talked about this for a long time, and this seems like a very comprehensive report, and I know it was because I talked to several principals who were there when you were on their campus walking around with them, checking every little nook and cranny. So I really appreciate that this was as important to staff as it was to the board, and I like this. Thank you guys for getting a good company to get this done and making it so thorough. So I look forward to the next steps. Thank you.
Dr. Patel.
Thank you, Mr. Miller, for your presentation, and thank you, staff, for making sure that this got done. I have been talking with parents in the community, as I always do, and one concern that got brought up, and I wish I had seen this presentation before I spoke to this parent. It would have been helpful. She had a concern about consistently and with fidelity schools being able to adhere to these protocols and policies. She says it's one thing to roll out the protocols and policies. How do we make sure that there isn't slow drift away from them over time, or what can we do as a district and as administration to ensure that those policies are strictly adhered to?
Great question, and every school in the country faces this same issue, and it really comes down to what we said earlier: education and communication and training. I think a lot of the things that we're finding in all of our kind of risk abatement measures and means to mitigate risk are around training and around people being aware. and having a plan in place. And it's, we learned that with any of our emergency training that we've had in the past, and we know it around these new kinds of risks. So it's really about following up and taking the time, because there's an expense to do that as well. But to take that time to have the training, and we make some specific recommendations about don't do a fake drill. We see a lot of schools around the country do the short version, the Reader's Digest, if those of you know that, version of a drill. And that's really not appropriate, because especially kids need motor skills around doing the whole thing, like really locking the door, really exiting. And so it's important that the process be really enforced, if you will, or the policies and procedures enforced.
That's what we hold Mr. Mizell accountable for, right? That's Ms. Beatty.
Thank you, Mr. Miller, for that excellent presentation. It definitely was clear that it was a very comprehensive assessment in a compressed amount of time. I have two questions. One is more specific. I was curious, one of the line items was windows and window coverings, and I was wondering if you could elaborate a bit more on that. And then the second question is, you had mentioned the differing nomenclature, and usually the most important component, especially in the middle of a crisis, is the command and control. And I was wondering if you could address that. Perhaps if you could speak to your observations, or how, what a best practice would look like just from a generic vantage point.
Well, as with many schools, the policies and procedures have formed perhaps organically. And there are standard nomenclature language to use around these procedures, and we stated them clearly in the report. They're publicly available. They're published in the state of California. So there's, it's a problem when different schools call their lockdown something different. So that's how we address that concern. But I think that's just the key point, is everyone needs to be on the same page. And it's important that we have school districts that want to create their own terms for lockdown, and the first responders don't know what they're talking about. And students sometimes don't know what they're talking about. So it's important that we kind of call it what it is and use language that's very understandable. And then to your other question, we really saw things that were in our recommendations are really practical to the extent of addressing these protocols, that procedures be in place. And we did find different procedures and protocols in place, and that they need to be standardized. And we also cited the ones that were exemplary. So I think, again, that's back to that point that there are groups that you can take some of these great protocols and leverage them. But we really, part of our recommendation also is bring everyone together. Let everyone participate in a process to look at these protocols and procedures, so that everyone's on the same page and understands the importance of them, and give them that emphasis. Because it looks, from our viewpoint, it looked like a lot of these were kind of developed independently.
Are you able to address the issue of windows and window coverings?
Oh,
I was
I'm
just
sorry.
curious.
On windows and windows coverings, it's kind of it's a conundrum, because we found a lot of different methods being used for visually creating a barrier on the windows. Our recommendation, and these are based upon the idea that you want to be able to see outside. You don't want to block the ability to see. Whether you're inside the classroom, you want to be able to see out, to see what the situational, we call it situational awareness, is. There were a lot of blinds and things like that, and we're not big advocates of use of blinds. We would much rather have a tint or a particular type of film that creates a semi-mirroring that allows there to be some privacy from the outside looking in, as opposed to just literally blocking the view from inside out. Also, I mean, from an educational standpoint, being able to see is really important. It's proven that education works best with good wind fenestration.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Mr. Schwartz.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that students don't really want to feel like they're in a prison necessarily, so being able to look out of the windows is very important. Thank you for the report. It's refreshing to see that something is happening with the safety, because it's always upsetting to see my peers scared to sometimes go to school, which it's definitely gotten better in the past few months, but seeing this progression towards a greater cause like this, making sure that students are safe is very important, and I really think that it should be made a priority to actually implement these things, as O'Connor Ratcliffe was saying, that really the changes that are recommended should be made as soon as possible.
Thank you. All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a 5-minute break and return at 7:30.
faster per 8:30.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It is 8:35. It was exactly 5 minutes. I appreciate you sticking. 7:35. Thank you for sticking to the 5-minute timeline.
Daylight savings.
We're going to go. Right, we're going to agenda item 6.1. Superintendent Jimenez.
Thank you, President Zane. 6.1 is a resolution 23-2019 regarding the elimination of classified positions as listed in Exhibit A. This resolution proposes the elimination of 4 student healthcare specialist positions and are recommended based on a position control review and reflect the needed changes based on student and support staff needs. The recommended positions for elimination are currently vacant and will therefore have no impact on any current classified employees. The cost savings from the eliminated positions will be reappropriated to fund a 6-hour and a 7.5-hour position that will better serve student and program needs. The board's asked to consider the approval of this resolution.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Dr. Patel. Conversation, questions, discussion. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 6.2, Mr. Menace.
Thank you. This is the first reading for a proposed student calendar for the upcoming 2 school years, 2019 and 2020 and 2020-21. A district-wide calendar committee proposes the following calendars for the upcoming 2 years. The committee is comprised of representatives from various groups, including our Poway Federation of Teachers, Poway School Employees, PSEA Associations Unit 1 and 2, and our Poway School Managers. Feedback was solicited from our stakeholders, and consideration was taken and related to a total of 180 student attendance days, legal holidays throughout the year, religious observance calendars, as well as 3 non-student days during each school year. Early consideration of these upcoming 2 school years by the board will allow our families and employees to plan in advance for holidays and vacation periods. This evening is the first reading, and a recommendation for the adoption of the student calendars will be brought forward at our December board meeting. This item is for your information at this point and any questions.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion? Oh, this information only. I'm sorry. Are there any questions?
I do have a question.
Dr. Patel.
I brought this up during my one-on-one, and I do have a request, if possible, that we encourage our elementary school sites and our middle school and high school sites to try to find days where they can align their professional growth days. Because I know from parents in the community, it's not just hard with childcare, but they'll take their kids out. High school's out, middle school's out, they'll take their elementary school kids out. And that directly impacts our ADA, which directly impacts our funding. So if there's a way that we can encourage, especially the feeder schools, the schools that do have clear tracks in a feeder system, to try to encourage them to overlap or align their days off, their professional growth days, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. That's an excellent suggestion. That is something that with learning support services that we can work with our elementary schools to see how we can better align those days so there's consistency across our communities.
Ms. Beatty.
Mr. Jimenez, I had a question. So the last several years, we've had a total of 188 teacher days. So is that still reflected in this calendar? You said 3 non-student days. So is it, are the teacher work days still at 188 or?
Yes, they are. So it's a 180 student day calendar. And in addition, during that window of time, there's 3 days that are non-student days, which are used for professional growth. But the work year for our teachers remains 188 days.
Just out of curiosity, what do we call those other 5 days then?
Those are days in which teachers report for professional development and preparing classrooms prior to the opening of the school year and also closing down the school year.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item 6.3, Mr. Menace.
Thank you, President Zane. Item 6.3 is the appointment of the Commissioner's Appointee for our Personnel Commission. On our Personnel Commission, it's comprised of a 3-member body. One commissioner is appointed by the Board of Education, a second commissioner is appointed by the Poway School Employees Association, and a third, which is the Commissioner's Appointee, is appointed by the other 2 members. The 3-year terms of our commissioners are staggered so that only 1 term expires each and every year. The current Commissioner's Appointee, Mr. Darren Keenagan, his term expires effective December 1st, 2018. This is to inform you that the Personnel Commission took action at its October 1st, 2018 meeting to reappoint Mr. Darren Keenigan, commencing a 3-year term on December 1st, 2018. Mr. Keenigan was first appointed to the Commission in 2015 and has served as the chair of the Commission since December 2017. Mr. Keenigan has advised the Commission that due to a recent promotion, he will no longer be able to serve as a Personnel Commission for the entire 3-year term. However, he will continue in his role as the Commissioner until the Commission recruits a replacement in the next few months ahead. This item is for information only, and any questions?
Any questions? Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Item 6.4.
Thank you, President Zane. Item 6.4 is the annual report of the Personnel Commission. This is based on the 2017-2018 fiscal year and is prepared in the fall each year to summarize the activities of our Personnel Commission and is provided to our Board of Trustees in accordance with the Education Code and the Personnel Commission rules and regulations. Our classified personnel support the district's mission through a variety of services, as well as departments of food nutrition, transportation, facilities, maintenance and operations, technology and innovation, and purchasing and warehouse, and our district office central services. Poway Unified School District in the last fiscal year had a total of 2,346 total classified employees, including our classified supervisors and managers and confidential employees. The Personnel Commission staff oversee a system based on merit principles for selection and promotion of employees, and they also provide appeal hearings on matters involving employee disciplinary action, employment examinations, personnel policies, and procedures. The annual report summarizes the recruitment activities and classification reviews for the last 4 fiscal years, as well as notable accomplishments in our merit system principles and goals. This item is for your information, and again is prepared each and every fall of each year.
Thank you very much. Ms. Beatty.
I just had a procedural question. In the past, the Personnel Commissioner has presented the report. I was just wondering why that wasn't done this time.
Our Personnel Commissioner or our Director of the Personnel?
Director.
Director.
Yeah, Director, yes.
We decided just to highlight certain points in our personnel in the report this year, but we certainly, if the board prefers to have our Director of the Classified Personnel Commission to present the report in the upcoming years, we can certainly return to that practice.
I always enjoyed it. I enjoyed hearing their presentation. I would be in favor of that going forward.
Yes, absolutely. We can go back to that practice.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Takes us to item 7.2. Let's see, Superintendent Little.
Yes, thank you, President Zane. This evening, staff seeks the board's approval for Resolution 26-2019, awarding a lease-leaseback contract to Balfour Beatty and authorizing related lease-leaseback documents for the Oak Valley Middle School Classroom Addition Project. Facilities Director Chad Coster will make a brief presentation. Also with us this evening is our District Counsel Ty Dord of BB&K to help answer any questions related to the lease-leaseback methodology. So Director Coster, please.
A quick update on where we're at for Oak Valley. So we were coming back again. So last time we briefed this was in June as we move forward, and we had...
Mr. Costa, can you hang on one second?
Yes.
I saw, we were commenting, we saw some members of the audience might have been confused that item 7.1 was pulled earlier in the meeting. So our apologies if you missed that earlier in the meeting and you were here, you were waiting for that. But that item was pulled, and staff's going to come back with further recommendations later.
So can I just address, because somehow I had missed that earlier as well, and I hadn't realized it until now. I guess,
we pulled that
the
during
7.1. So what was the reason?
We pulled that during the adoption of the agenda sequence.
Okay, but what was the reason?
Just to pull it.
Yeah, staff's going to pull it, review it, more review.
Okay, and then I wanted to follow up with staff on it as well, because I had done some additional research on that and I had some questions. Okay. So I'll do that later. Okay, thanks.
Apologies, Ms. Costa. Go ahead, please. Continue. Thank you.
No problem. So as we briefed in June, the existing kind of optimal capacity of the Oak Valley Middle School right now is 1,354 students. At the time, we were looking at a loading of 1,460, and we'd recommended a 5-classroom, or kind of a 4-classroom with a shared space in the middle that we could use as a 5th classroom as necessary. In October, we got the new updated numbers and projections, and they continued to increase. So we're coming back with a little bit of a revised proposal. So it's a 2-story, 8-classroom building that will allow some expansion on the campus as well. So I think it's a great solution for us. It'll allow us some flexibility as we move forward and as we continue to see student enrollment growth. But as you can see the numbers, when I briefed last time, we projected our peak to be at 1,547 students in 22-23, and now our current numbers are peaking out at 1,677 students in 24-25. And so, and we can, obviously, as you look, you can continue to see construction in the area. So this allows us some flexibility. As we briefed before, our short-term solution will be 4 portable classrooms that will be put on the campus as soon as possible, starting in December and moving on and being completed in January. So just kind of a quick overview of kind of the new plan and our proposed solution moving forward. This is the campus layout. This is the same area on the campus, and it was designed for expansion during original construction. What this will allow us to do is utilize the elevator and the stairways that are already existing and be able to tie into it, so there's savings there. We're also looking into, there's actually on this campus many toilet facilities, so I think we're not going to have to put in the restroom facilities that are on there because we have enough on campus, and there's some significant savings in the design with that as well. We're working through those details as we go through the design process now, though. You can see, if needed, we're hoping not to, but if needed, there is space for future expansion as we go as well. This is just kind of some schematic designs of conceptual designs of what that would look like on campus. You can see it will match the existing architecture. It's basically a half a building of what we already have there. So just looking at what's the timeline look like. So we've talked about, obviously, the board authorized us to move forward with the lease-leaseback contract, RFP, in June. And at the same board meeting, we went forward with our design contract with HMC Architecture, and they continue to do their work. We bring forward the contract today for recommended for approval. And as we go through, there's 2 phases of construction design as we go, as we mentioned before. So the portables will start right away, and then as we move into phase 2, which is the 8-classroom design, we anticipate being able, the goal is to be able to break ground on that starting this summer and use that summer construction window to get out of the ground. And it's about a 10-month expected construction window. The lease-leaseback process in itself. So when we went out for the RFP, we had tremendous response. We had 8 contractors propose. We evaluated based on the RFP criteria for selection. It's a best value contract selection. And Balfour Beatty ended up being our recommended contractor moving forward. They ended up with the highest score and a very strong team that they presented for us. So we look forward to working there. With the lease-leaseback contract, there's actually 4 separate components, just to be aware of that. They all get awarded at the same time. So there's pre-construction services, which is one of the big values of why we like the lease-leaseback contract. So they will partner with our team early. They'll partner with our architectural team early. And it's really a collaborative effort, and there are ongoing cost estimates as the design is developing, and they can help influence, hey, there's, that's a great idea, but it's really hard to build. And so, again, we're really looking forward to that. What will come to the board, and as we move forward, is there's various stages where guaranteed maximum prices get set. So we start off with our budget estimate that is in the contract right now. When we give them the design for the first phase, which is the portable classrooms, we will give them that design. They will go out and bid it. They will come back and they will price that, give us a guaranteed max price, and then we will move forward with that. As part of what they bid on and what they were selected on, the pre-construction services, you can see the fees that's a firm fixed fee for the pre-construction services, and then there's a percentage fee, open competition on their subs as we move forward.
Can you go back to that one slide and just explain the construction services there?
Sure. The pre-construction or construction services? The construction services?
Yes.
Yeah, so the construction services, there's a lease-leaseback fee of 5.5%. So they're acting as our general contractor. They are managing and controlling all of the subcontracts. We get full open books on how they bid those out, and we get to see how they select their subs. We're part of that process as they go as well. But there's a 5.5% fee that is there as a general contractor, their fee on top of that.
Of what? 5.5%?
5.5% of the subcontract fees of all the subcontracts. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, you bet. Again, this is a little bit of some of the same phasing plan here, but just into the construction. We got Dsa approval. Actually, today I got a text as we were sitting in here for the first phase. So that's going to move forward. We'll be able to get that going. And we will have we target to have the guaranteed max price for phase 1 in December and be able to move forward with that. And again, just you can see the timeline for the new buildings. It's aggressive. It's an aggressive design timeline, but our partners at HMC are confident that they can make that. So the one unknown a little bit is always when we go to DSA. We don't control that process and what that review timeline is, but it's been very good recently, and they're really improving their processes. So I think this is reasonable, and it's aggressive, but that's what we're going for. So again, just kind of finish on big picture on budget, what we're looking at. So total project budget of just over $6 million. Hard cost of actual building costs is right around $5 million. It's, again, 8 classrooms is the total, and it'll be roughly 9,000 square foot building. Let's move forward. Any questions?
Dr. Patel.
Thank you, Chad. I'm excited about this. I think Oak Valley really needs this. It is growing very rapidly, and we know that based on housing that it's going to stay that way. One question, I think there are some members of the community that would like to know whether their Melrose fees are going to increase for this, or how is it being paid?
So it is being paid for through the CFD Melrose fees that come through, but yeah.
There's no increases. We have funds available in the CFDs to cover it.
That's a beautiful thing. Yeah. Questions, comments, others? Ms. Beatty.
I just had one question about the RFP. So, and perhaps it's for, did we have our legal advisor here, or Mr. Little, or Mr. Dorard, with regard to the RFP? The RFP wasn't in the board shared. I vaguely remember we got it back in June. I don't know if other board members remember seeing it. So I think it was just this past June was when the new law came into effect, because there was this controversial court case, the Davis case, that for a period of time outlawed the lease back, and then the legislature brought it back in, but it was circumscribed, and one of the requirements were this notice requirement for the metrics of how the RFP, the process was done. So with regard to publicizing that, is the district required to put that? What does publicizing mean? Does it have to go on the district website so that the public can see how the process of choosing the construction company happens?
Yes, correct. The new change in the statute actually took effect January 1 of 2017. Oh. So it's been almost, well, we're not quite at 24 months that all school districts statewide have been able to utilize it. The requirement for notice and publication is exactly the same, not exactly the same, but in terms of what it functionally does, you're publishing it the same way you would publish bids for hard bid jobs, so low bid jobs. And so you published notice of the RFP. It was made available on your website. A very common practice, but you certainly satisfied all the requirements of the law, which is publishing it in a newspaper of general circulation twice within a 2-week period.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion for approval?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so item 7.3, Associate Superintendent Little.
Yes, this is our monthly enrollment report for month 2. You can see that our enrollment at month 2 was 36,428 students. That was a gain of 17 students over month 1, and our current attendance rate for month 2 is 97.28%.
Any questions? All right, thank you very much. Associate Superintendent Osborne, item 8.1.
Thank you, President Zane. Tonight we bring forward for a first reading the proposed adoption of supplemental textbooks for our Building and Construction Pathway course. By utilizing these textbooks, our students enrolled in the courses will have the opportunity for direct entry to construction apprenticeships. This course is currently offered at Abraxas.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. Item 8.2.
Thank you. It is our pleasure to present the Poway Unified English Learner Master Plan. This is the first time Poway Unified will have an English Learner Master Plan, which will increase transparency for our families as well as ensure coherence across our schools regarding our English learner programs and services. While the CDE does not require districts to have an EL Master Plan, it is recommended to ensure that all stakeholders understand our services, programs, assessments, and procedures. Our DLAC has reviewed this and provided input, and this plan will be posted on our website, on the LSS-EL website, so that it has easy access to our parents, community, schools, to review all of this as needed. I'd like to also thank Christine Cloutier, our EL TOSA, and Mercedes Hubschmidt for their work on this comprehensive plan.
Thank you very much and great work. Congratulations. It's always great when there's a first.
Yes.
Right? Any questions? Okay. Thank you very much. This is item 8.3.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight we have a brief presentation that shows our progress on local indicators identified by the State Board of Education. We are required to review these indicators each year by December 1st. The report reflects the 5 priority areas as listed on the green sheet, and we have our LSS Executive Director, Doug Johnson, who will now present our progress and status on the 5 local indicators.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Osborne. Good evening, Dr. Phelps, trustees, and cabinet. This evening, I would like to provide you information on the local control funding formula, local indicators, which will be uploaded to our state dashboard in December. A component of the California School Accountability Dashboard are local indicators. These indicators are focused on assisting school districts in assessing strengths, weaknesses, and areas that need improvement. The state has identified 5 local indicators that districts are called upon to self-analyze. This self-analysis was conducted with input from all district departments. In Priority 1, we examine our appropriate placement of teachers, student access to curriculum aligned to the standards, and the condition of our school facilities. Currently, we have 2 open positions in our mild-moderate special education program. We are in the process of recruiting for those positions. Through the Williams Act process, we certify that our students were provided their own copies of standards-aligned instructional materials as reviewed at the September board meeting. Through our facilities department analysis, it has been determined that we do not have any of our school sites facilities identified to be deficient or extremely deficient. In using the tool shown on this slide provided by the California Dashboard, we examine our implementation of the State Academic Standards Local Indicator Priority 2. In this light, we utilize a 5-point scale displayed on this slide to chart our progress. Currently, we are in the first year of utilizing the adopted Benchmark Advanced ELA/ELD curriculum in grades 3 to 5, and the second year in grades K to 2. At all of the other grade levels, we are using a variety of instructional practices and materials focused on close reading, claim, reasoning, and evidence, and incorporating more non-fictional text into lessons. In English language development, our elementary teachers are now using the English language development component of the Benchmark Advanced curriculum. Secondary school teachers continue to align their instruction in accordance with the California ELD standards. In mathematics, we are proud to announce that we are in full implementation district-wide. Currently, we are in the initial implementation in regard to the California Next Generation Science Standards. Currently, our middle schools are piloting 2 commercial curricular programs right now, and so they'll make a decision as we go forward as to where we go with that particular process. The History's Social Science Framework was adopted by the state of California back in 2016. Currently, we are now just looking at the framework. We are trying out some of the lessons and then making our next movement forward in terms of that process of incorporating these standards into our curriculum. In the areas of career and technical education, health, physical education, visual and performing arts, and world languages, we are in full implementation. The world languages framework has not been approved yet, so we are still current in what we are offering at our high schools. Additionally, we are in full implementation of supporting our teachers and administrators in the teaching of the California state standards via our site professional learning structures and through our differentiated teaching and learning cooperative opportunities, our TLCs, which are really, really incredible for increasing our differentiated professional development. In local indicator number 3, parent engagement, we utilize the results of the 2017 District Parent Perception Survey. This parent survey was administered by the West Ed Company. This survey was developed to align with a biannual California Healthy Kids survey given to students to yield comparative analysis of both parent and student perspectives. Currently, we are in the process of administering our 2019 District Parent Survey. The deadline for parent input is tomorrow at the end of the day. So we're hoping that if you're listening online that you complete that so we get your voice in and looking at our work here. We are definitely proud of our parent survey results as indicated on this slide. At the school sites, we continue to examine and implement a variety of strategies to involve our students in providing input to our school initiatives and educational programs. We are quite pleased with the number of parents who have attended and engaged in our site and district LCAP, VAPA, technology, special education, and safety forums. As a means to analyze the school climate on our sites, the California Healthy Kids Survey was used. This tool is administered to students at grades 5, 7, 9, and 11 on a biannual basis. As was indicated in the previous slide, we are currently garnering student and staff input concerning school climate issues via the California Healthy Kids Survey. As with the parent survey, the deadline for gathering information is tomorrow. So we're almost there. The information gleaned from this tool provides our staff with focus areas for students to enhance their overall school experience. The questions reported above were chosen as representative of the required state measures of student perceptions of school safety and connectedness. On a regular basis, our staff examines our social-emotional supports that are provided for students in order to curtail negative student-to-student behaviors. In response to survey results, we have initiated the following programs: No Place for Hate, ADL, Say Hello, Sandy Hook Promise, Social Emotional Learning Curriculum, Second Step Lessons, Character Counts, and of course increased our counseling and student support assistance. As a unified school district, on an ongoing basis, we analyze the extent to which all of our students have access to and are enrolled in a broad course of study. In our elementary schools, all students have access to core academic curriculum. All PUSD elementary students have the opportunity to participate in our exploration program. For 17 sessions a year, a team of highly qualified and trained Poway teachers teach grade level lessons in PE, visual and performing arts, STEM, and coding. For our students who are learning English and those with disabilities, curriculum may be differentiated to meet individual needs. At the middle and high school levels, PUSD offers courses in all of the academic areas. Students have open access to grade level courses. At the high school level, we continue to be pleased with the number of students who are completing the A through G requirements. In 2018, it was reported that 78% of our students completed A through G courses, which was an increase of 2% from the previous year. More of our high school students are completing a CTE pathway than in previous years, while more of our students are taking advanced placement courses each year. In addition, we offer a wide range of elective courses, including pathways in STEM, visual and performing arts, AVID, and career technical education. We strive for continuous improvement regarding course access offerings. However, some barriers exist. The scheduling of classes in a given school day limits the number of elective courses students can take in a term. When students are recommended to take elective academic support classes, this limits their opportunity to take other electives. This is true for many of our English learners and students with disabilities. Our next steps include continuing to enhance and explore other course offerings. For example, we continue to partner with Palomar College to provide college-level courses for our students. We're looking to enhance our course offerings via the Poway Virtual School. As we examine our VAPA offerings, we are in the process of surveying stakeholders for their input in our offerings in the 5 VAPA disciplines: visual art, music, theater, dance, and media art. In conclusion, district staff is required to measure the school's district's progress in these priority areas as met, not met, or not met for 2 years. Using the local self-reflection tools and the self-reflection tool provided by the California State Dashboard, district staff has determined that PUSD has met the criteria for all 5 indicators. Thank you, and any questions?
Thank you so much. That was great. Ms. Beatty.
Thank you for that presentation. I think the most important component was maybe that Healthy Kids survey. And the takeaway is 11th graders are not happy campers.
As we noticed last year, too. Because that
I don't, you know, maybe we can do something to alleviate their stress. And, or, you know, usually it's senioritis when they're ready to go. The 5th graders are concerned about rumors. And then the 7th graders, that's that tough middle school period, they feel disrespected. So
well, it's interesting you talk about that because today I met with the elementary counselors and I oversee the student services assistants for elementary, and then how that through line through counseling all the way through middle and high, how important their role is to engage our students, to find their path, to find their purpose within what we are providing for each and every student. It is paramount to what we all believe in our work with our kids. And this information from the surveys really, again, brings us toward that focus of what we're hoping to accomplish for each of our Poway Unified School District students. So I thank the board for your support in the social emotional realm for our students. It's so vital. If they're not ready to learn, we can teach, we can do a variety of different things. It's not going to happen. So the counselors, I'm going to speak on their behalf from our meeting today. They thank you so much for your support as we move forward, and it's very, very important.
And it's really about those proactive interventions, because it can't be minimized, as you said. If they're not feeling good about things at school, then they're not going to be ready to learn. So that's the foundation.
Absolutely.
Right there.
I mean, one example I really love recently is our friendship benches at the elementary school, and they, kids that are maybe feeling that they just need a friend, and then kids are learning how to then support those individuals. It's just so touching. It's so amazing, and that we're getting to the heart of kids as well as being really, really strong in terms of their academics. So we're very proud of our rigorous program as I share, and I'll share again next month with the California Dashboard. But we're very, very proud of both of those areas. So thank you, board, so much.
Mr. Schwartz.
I thank you for the presentation. I just had a quick question. For the survey, is it mandatory for all students to?
No, parents do opt out. parents have the opportunity to gauge the questions, and they do have an opportunity to opt out. And there are parents that have opted their students out of taking the California Healthy Kids survey.
I wanted to ask a quick question about well, hopefully it's quick, the implementation of the state academic standards. You mentioned, well, HSS is 111, so we're exploring and researching phase right now. But you mentioned that those standards were adopted by the state in 2016. Seems like that's taken us a while, and we're still in that exploration and research phase. And I know I've heard about the high school history textbooks in particular. Where are we? How fast can we get to a 5?
That's a good question in terms of all that we have on our plates, and that's really how that was relegated to exploring right now. We are really heavily involved in, of course, a literacy implementation. We're looking at how we're going to be shifting in our California NGSS standards. So we are looking at that, but slower. It's a slower pace right now. Thank you. All right. Thanks.
We're moving on to number 8.4. Ms. Osborne?
We have one speaker on this topic. It's Janet Latang.
Janet, did you want to speak before or after the presentation?
This is good.
Okay.
I'm a good lead-in. Thank you for asking. Good evening again, Superintendent Kim Phelps, Superintendent's Council, and trustees. Performances and showcases are an important part of the visual performing arts curriculum. Performances are kind of like the equivalent of the big game day in sports. They allow the students to perform, they connect the performers with the community, giving the performers an opportunity for feedback, to observe other performers, and to receive feedback from their audiences. I've handed out a list of 42 PUSD visual and performance arts performances or showcases by 17 different PUSD schools happening between today and December 21st. It's an Excel file. Sorry. Anyway, I compiled this list by looking at school websites and their booster group websites. Thank you. The source for each performance is listed in the notes section of the handout. At the end of the list, there are 20 schools, primarily elementary schools, for which I did not find any performance information. They're listed at the end of the handout. It could be that they're not performing, or it could be that it's just not on the calendar, which is probably more of what's happening. Also not included on this list are the many marching band performances. They're just going crazy this month, so they're all performing. They're doing a great job, so I didn't put them on there. I am hopeful that sometime soon PUSD will have a district VAPA calendar that lists all of our performances and showcases. This is one part of the strategic arts plan that you're going to be hearing about very soon. I would like to thank the district for creation of the Strategic Arts Task Force, and I would like to thank Kimberly Renz, Beth Parasick, and the members of the Strategic Arts Task Force for their work on this important PUSD VAPA plan. Thank you very much. Enjoy a show, or two, or many. Thank you.
This is the show.
Thank you very much, Associate Superintendent Osborne.
Thank you. Tonight, Executive Director Kimberly Renz and Curriculum Director Beth Parasick will present a brief update on the work of the VAPA Strategic Arts Planning Committee. This effort is in response to parents and community members' input at LCAP forums expressing interest in increasing VAPA learning opportunities and access for all students across our schools. If there are members in the audience that are part of this committee, could you please stand and be recognized? We are grateful for your commitment to our students and supporting this work. We will now hear from Kimberly Renz and Beth Parasick, who are members of the committee as well.
Well, good evening, President Zane, board members, Dr. Phelps, and Cabinet. Tonight, we are going to present a brief overview of the work to date of our Visual Performing Arts and Strategic Committee. As Ms. Osborne shared, the visual performing arts was determined to be a priority during our LCAP community forums. And to get started, we partnered with California Arts Project and the San Diego County Office of Education. So together, we've created a strategic arts committee with a very specific focus, and we're excited to share a little update. The purpose of the committee is to really create a visionary plan for Poway Unified that would provide a high-quality, comprehensive, sequential, standards-based education for all students at all schools. We were very cognizant of the representation, and we wanted to ensure that there were representation of our stakeholders from all levels, elementary, middle, and high. We also wanted representation from all 5 VAPA disciplines, the media arts, theater, dance, visual arts, and music. This slide shows all the stakeholder groups that were engaged in our committee, and we are very grateful for their work. We're also, like I said earlier, very fortunate to have the expertise of the California Arts Project and their assistance in facilitating our committee meetings. So we really wanted to gain an understanding and clarity around artistic literacy development and components of a quality arts education. So in order to do so, we followed this process. We reviewed current research. We created a vision and mission statement focused on students and how we can enrich their lives through the arts. We also identified 5 focused areas and goals that address specific needs of a comprehensive arts program. We convened 2 community forums for all of our stakeholders beyond just our committee to provide feedback and input on the focus areas created by the committee. And finally, we created a draft strategic plan with consensus to take the draft through next steps.
So on this slide, you'll see our vision and mission statement. These statements were a collaborative effort by all committee members and were developed over the course of several meetings. They were recently finalized and recommended by the committee to include them in the final draft as part of the executive summary. So the vision, growing confident and creative students through exploration and expression in the arts. Mission, Poway Unified School District is dedicated to promoting visual and performing arts as part of a well-rounded education by providing all students with a high-quality, relevant, equitable, and sequential standards-based arts education in the 5 VAPA disciplines: dance, media arts, music, theater, and visual arts. So we came up with 5 focus areas. The first one, curriculum, instruction, and assessment. The focus here is on implementing a sequential standards-based articulated curriculum TK through 12th grade in all 5 VAPA arts disciplines. The second one, leadership and professional learning, is about defining and designing meaningful TK through 12th grade professional learning opportunities for each of the 5 arts disciplines. The third, human and physical resources. This area takes into consideration employing highly qualified arts educators and providing access to spaces, equipment, supplies, and materials that will ensure a quality and comprehensive arts education for all students. Number 4, culture and community. This focus area is about promoting and celebrating our arts programs and establishing and cultivating relationships with arts organizations, artists, community partners, teaching artists, and families to support our students' growth and passion in the arts. And finally, equity and access. This area emphasizes having consistent exposure to and opportunities for engagement in a standards-based arts education across the 5 disciplines as students progress from elementary to middle through high school. So our next steps in this process, we are currently in the process of finalizing a survey through Hanover that Doug mentioned, and I think Carol earlier. This survey is intended to get stakeholder feedback about our VAPA options and programs at all of our schools, and we hope to get that out to stakeholders next week. And then we want to share the draft plan with Cabinet and Extended Cabinet for their review and input, and then make any necessary revisions based on their feedback, and bring forward the final plan to you with all of the recommendations in the early part of 2019. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Thank you so much. Questions? Ms. Beatty.
Thank you for your work on this and for your presentation. In the process of formulating the mission and the next steps, did you look at what the schools are currently doing now, kind of like our technology where we have a lot of support from our parent groups, the PTA and the foundation, and there was quite a bit of a hodgepodge of different computers. We have at our school sites different programs that are either funded with the school site funds or PTA or foundation, whether it's Art Attack, whatever, and thanks, and or parent volunteers or certified teachers. So as a baseline, did you look at what we currently have?
So last year we did a survey around those items, and then so that was last year, and obviously as budgets change and priorities change at school sites, we wanted to get the most current, up-to-date information. So that is part of the visual performing arts survey that's going to be sent out to administrators. Those are questions on the administrator survey that will ask them, what programs do you have, how are they funded, who teaches them, and that sort of thing. So we will have that baseline data again.
And then, with that as a baseline, then what are the next steps then? What's the next progression? So the committee continues to meet, and then what's the timeline and the goal for the practical implementation of these ideas?
So you'll see when we bring the final plan forward to you in all of those different focus areas, not in all of them, but in many of them, there is a need to find baseline data, to gather that baseline data. And so in the plan, you'll see pertinent to those different focus areas, the follow-up action steps after the baseline data is collected and gathered. Mm-hmm. Yes, there's an ongoing process built into the plan.
So and then that'll be the presentation version 2.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. And
yes.
When do you estimate then you'll come back with that? Do you have a timeline or?
I think we're hoping January or February.
January, that's what we're hoping.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, it's exciting.
Excellent. Thank you. Anybody else? Very good. Thank you so much.
You're
Appreciate
very
it.
welcome.
Item 10.1, Associate Superintendent Burks.
Thank you, President Zane. The Technology and Innovation Department is in the process of applying for a grant from the San Diego County Neighborhood Reinvestment Program to help fund the installation of new cameras at 2 of our middle schools. Tonight, we are asking the board to approve the resolution to allow the district to submit this grant application.
Thank you so much. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second. I do have a question.
Questions?
Did we use our grant person to help you out on this, or did you do it all by yourself?
We used the grant consulting service to help us with this.
Well,
yes.
that's fantastic
Absolutely.
to hear. All right. Thanks.
Any other questions? Is this through Superintendent Gaspar's office? This particular one? Great. Okay. Motion to approve. There's been a motion to approve in a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 11.1, Dr. Phelps.
Thank you, President Zane. Tonight we're asking for board's approval to change the December 12th, 2019 regular board meeting or December 12th, 2019 regular board meeting to December 19th, 2019. Per the changes in Ed Code that commence on January 1st, 2019, they're saying that the organizational meeting would need to take place no earlier than the second Friday in December, which makes it December the 13th. So our meeting is scheduled the day before. So we're asking that the board approve the change to the following week.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
A second?
Second.
I personally had to change my plans for December 19th, 2019, but I'll go with this. Any discussion?
This date doesn't really work. Oh, wait a minute. It doesn't matter.
This date doesn't really work.
Mr. Schwartz, preferential?
Aye.
Thank you very much. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. And 11.2, Dr. Phelps.
11.2, this item was brought forward at the last board meeting. Trustee Beatty had requested that we place this item on the board meeting for, to consider her revisions and to board bylaws 9323, which are attached. We attached the current board bylaws that were submitted earlier and approved by the board, and then behind it, our trustee Beatty submitted recommendations for revisions for the board's consideration.
Thank you very much.
If
Ms.
I
Beatty.
could, so if I could address this, I looked again. This is really just cleanup work for this previously adopted board policy, and so I looked at it again to see how I could streamline it, because it was mostly, as I think Board Member Patel had also pointed out, was duplicitous information. So quickly, just going to the clean sheet on the first page, my recommendations, one, I had brought up the closed session, I think, is difficult to read when the boilerplate is always on every agenda, every board agenda every month. So my recommendation is that we only include the closed session items that are actually going to be discussed in closed session under 2.0. That's the first one. And then skipping to Board Bylaw 9323E, we keep this page, and then right after number 2, we insert, if you go to the next page, 9323F, insert the paragraph number 1, community members may address the board on non-agenda items. And this describes the speaker slip submittal. So that's between 2 and 3 on the previous page. And then number 4 on the previous page is completely deleted. Keep number 5. And looks like then public comment on agenda items deleted all the way down through number 6. Everything there is just deleted, and then everything else is kept the same. And that's my proposal.
Yeah, that was a lot to take in one breath.
No, it's a lot on the fly.
I'd
so
like it if we could have that redlined and bring it back next month.
Sure.
Have those changes redlined and brought back. It'd be easier to understand and see it visually.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I can just address the closed session portion too, that was recommendation from attorneys to place those items on there, because oftentimes things happen right before a board meeting, and it covers our ability to be able to have discussions, supposedly if like negotiation closes or a lawsuit, there's changes in litigation that we may need board guidance or decision on something that can't wait a whole nother month. So in protection for the district, the recommendation is to always have those items on ongoing board agendas.
I think conversely, there's also a legal risk if we put the kitchen sink on there every single time, that we're making a mockery of the disclosure requirement, and that could make us legally vulnerable. So we may want to revisit that with the attorneys, because I think it's a double-edged sword.
I'm happy to bring the attorneys forward to talk about that with the board.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Beatty. Item 11.3, Dr. Phelps.
This is the first reading approval of a new California School Board Association Board Policy 0415 on equity. In July of 2018, the CSBA created a new board policy, and it's being presented tonight for its first reading.
Any questions or comments? Okay, thank you. Item 11.4, Dr. Phelps.
11.4, Board Policy 2210 is being presented to the board tonight as a first reading and is attached for the board's review. And it's on administrative discretion regarding board policies.
Questions or comments? Okay. Thank you very much. That brings us to item 12.1, board member reports. starting with Mr. Schwartz.
Hello, everyone. It's been a fantastic month. I do not have very much to report due to my commitment to finals and college applications, but in good news, and with all A's, I've been working on, yeah. I've been working on updating some food regulations in an attempt to change some food policies. I'm only in the beginning stages of this daunting task, but will not stop until at least something is changed. My hope is to eventually establish exception days to our very strict nutrition policy, but I'm working out the small components of it, and thank you to Mr. Little for being very patient with me throughout this process. Thank you to all those who voted in the recent election. It's always important to vote. I wish I could, but I always love watching other people share their opinions. As I say, feel free to contact me at any point with any questions or concerns. I live for this position, and I would be happy to be in contact with any of you. Have a fantastic rest of your month, and a happy, much-deserved Thanksgiving break. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Ms. Connor-Ratcliffe.
Well, I've been pretty busy, but with election stuff, obviously. But I did, over the last month, it was pretty busy at school sites, too. So I want to share a little of that because that really is the highlight of this job. All of our high schools had their homecoming celebrations last month, and I had the great fortune of participating in Westview's celebrations. They had their Grease theme from their lunchtime pep rally, which had everything you can think of, games, fun, contests, to really the highlight for me being Mr. Obstad's class is amazing. There's student speed painting demonstration. What they can do in 45 minutes is unreal. Got to go check out their finished product in the office. They're on display up there. I also got to judge their homecoming floats, which was nearly impossible. I'm not sure which class won. Seniors, of course. But it was a really outstanding showcase of student creativity and the school spirit. It was amazing. And I know all of our high schools put on some kind of a showcase like this, and it really is so much fun. I encourage everybody to get out there, be part of this. It's so much fun and uplifting. I also took part in our Poway Unified College and Career Fair. There were over 3,000 families and students who made it out there. I had a great time representing my alma mater. I know Dr. Patel was representing hers. Managed to lose my voice a little. That's a lot of people to talk to in a short period of time, but it was totally worth it. And also got to get out to our college-bound group. They held a forum for our candidates, and this was actually the only time in my area that I got to be in the same room with all the other candidates. Everyone invited out to talk with those young scholars and their families. It was wonderful, really great to see all of those engaged families and the students asking such relevant questions, even if they're not able to vote, asking those questions, getting ready to vote. I really think our district is strengthened by programs like that. Really an amazing group. I got to go to Los Penn Elementary School with a couple of our board members here. Had a great time interviewing fifth graders there for their BizTown jobs. And if you're not familiar with that program, there's another one. You got to get out there for this stuff. It is a highlight in our district. These kids had to interview. They made resumes and they had to interview for their number one job choice when they go to BizTown, and it's a great program. They're articulate, they're determined, they're thoughtful, they're excited to tackle the challenge, and they want to tell you all about it, and it was fantastic. The teachers there obviously prepared these kids very well, so I want to give kudos to them too, and I know these kids will have an amazing experience when they go. I'm pretty sure most of our fifth grade classes, maybe all of them, go to BizTown now, and wow, it's great. Along with everybody else here, I think, and maybe I'll just let somebody else talk about this, but we had the giant scissors out at Stone Ranch for the ribbon cutting on their new building. It was great to see 19 portable classrooms gone that were crowding out the playground space. The highlight for me there was the fourth grade class doing the Pledge of Allegiance in sign language. So that was really something, and thank you to Ms. Peck for emceeing that event. That was very nice. Principal Danzer leads a wonderful campus there. Lots of Halloween fun at Adobe Bluffs, and they were able to do that costume parade. They're the Mandarin immersion school, so they had that panda running around the whole school. I don't know who was in that costume, but it had to be hot. But it was a lot of fun. The kids wanted hugs like crazy. They smuggled a lot of STEM activities in, building candy corn catapults and how tall can you make these candy corns and the toothpicks go. It was pretty great, and the kids They sneak it in. They don't get it. This is science, baby. I loved it. Soul Effects. I want to talk about them briefly. They're partnering with Bernardo Heights Middle School PTSA. They did one presentation last night, and the next one is next Thursday. Put it on your calendar. They're presenting a documentary called Angst, and it's about anxiety in our students. I think this is really, really important. You can get tickets at souleffects.com. In addition to the movie, they're having resource tables, and they're going to have a panel discussion with experts in that field. If you have kids of any age, really, I think this is worth your time. And then I'll close with a couple comments on the election. I am overwhelmed by the outpouring of support I received over these months and honored to represent the people of our district for 4 more years. I want to recognize our students, frankly, and you're included in that, Jake. Regardless of their political affiliation, which candidates they personally supported, they got engaged, and they encouraged their peers to be engaged, and they helped register or pre-register. Now you can pre-register to vote before you're 18. They did a lot of that on our high school campuses, more than one of our campuses. They volunteered for campaigns. They asked a lot of questions. They offered meaningful and well-considered endorsements of candidates and issues that were important to them. And those old enough voted next year. I think this, for me, shows a strength in our democracy from what I think some people would say is a surprising corner. These are young people who aren't even 18 yet. They're not even voters yet, but they're ready. And I think in the time I've spent with our Poway Unified students, I'm not surprised at all, but it was wonderful to see how much they care and how much they want to learn and how much they want to be involved in this. So our students' civic engagement paints a bright picture for the future of our country, really. So I couldn't be prouder. And with that, I'll pass it on.
Thank you, Mr. Connor Radcliffe. Ms. Beatty.
Out of respect for our staff in the back, some of whom have put in over a 13-hour day, I'll pass on my report. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Mr. Sellers.
I want to start by congratulating Ms. Couvrette and Michelle and TJ. Ms. Couvrette on her election, and TJ and Michelle on their re-election. Ms. Couvrette, when they give you your district car, you may not know that they give you a district car. Yes, you should ask for a Corvette. It seems only appropriate. Oh, the gas card. Oh boy, I'm leaving at just the wrong time. I want to thank the voters of Poway Unified for being decisive in their choices. They made their preferences clear, and I respect that, no matter what those preferences are. And I appreciate that. And in fact, I think as Californians, we do a pretty good job of that, as evidenced by the fact that they're having another recount in Florida. So I do appreciate that. And I congratulate those who will be going on from here. I want to address, at least indirectly, the comments Mr. Strachan made earlier in open comment section. I can't address the specific comments, but one of the things that troubled me about them is that there's a saying here in America that politics stops at the water's edge, that when we get beyond our borders, we're all Americans. I tend to think of this building as the water's edge. And in spite of the many heinous things I've been accused of doing up here by various parties, I've never dragged politics into this building. Neither has anyone else up here on the dais. And I think that that's inappropriate to bring a political matter, something that is wholly outside the purview of this board, into the discussion. Even when people were running for school board, when they came up and spoke in public, they spoke about school board matters and issues, not about their own particular campaigns or someone else's campaign. An example, I wasn't thrilled to see Mr. Schwartz appear on one of TJ's mailers. But that's his right as a citizen. It's his First Amendment privilege. He was doing that not as a board member of this body, but as a private citizen and an individual. You don't see me up here saying he should step down because he did something that I disagree with politically. So consider that sort of a parting comment that I respect the work of this body and this district, and I really think that we should try to keep the politics out of the room because, like I said, the five of us up here, there are a lot of things we disagree about politically, but none of you know what any of those are because we don't talk about them as part of this job. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sellers. Dr. Patel.
Good evening, everyone, and for those celebrating, Happy Diwali. That is our new year, and it's a time for new beginnings, and I'm looking forward to it. What a month it's been. Besides attending several school events for my own children, including a dad's movie night at Park Village, Halloween parade, Westview band night for my 8th grader, 3rd grade science lab, which I always volunteer in the science lab whenever I can, and community leadership activities like helping with the YMCA Farmers Market, Rancho Penasquito's Planning Board meeting. I also attended several PUSD events this month. Some I'll abbreviate on since Michelle already covered them. The Westview Pep Rally really was fantastic. It's a joy to be invited to attend. The teacher, Keith Opstead, he invites us every year to showcase his speed painting activity. But besides that, we get to be entertained with all the other things going on in that pep rally. I'm looking forward to seeing one of the other schools' pep rallies next year. I'm going to try to make time to do that. On October 18th, I was proud to represent my alma mater, Occidental College, at the Poway Unified School District College and Career Fair with my fellow classmate, Tom Murphy. We had several students talking to us about biology, track and field, kinesiology, sociology, journalism, and college food, and class size, and about graduating in 4 years. So these students really know what they're looking for. They're very specific in their questions. Although we did have one question say, can I go undeclared? Of course, it's liberal arts college, so yes, of course you can come in undeclared. There were over 3,000 students and about 200 vendors, and many thanks to Rancho Bernardo High School for hosting that once again. I also attended the BizTown interviews at Los Penn Elementary School and really so thoroughly impressed with the quality of applicants of these potential employees. Really, their resumes were well put together. The handwriting was neat. They were dressed very sharply, spoke eloquently, were very polite, engaged, and knew what they wanted. Some of them want to be CEO of Cox Communications. You better watch out. They're ready. One of the more rare opportunities for a board member in an established school district is a ribbon cutting ceremony. And I'm excited to have participated in two. We're pretty much built out. But the recent one at Stone Ranch Elementary was really quite touching. It's Building M. If you get a chance to visit it, it really is a stunning building with flexible space, open arrangements, really cool technology that the teachers are still being trained on. But the students seem to know or are able to figure out how to work some of it. There was singing and signing by the 4th graders and speeches from several of our administrators. There were lots of parents in attendance too, and they're very appreciative of having those old portables taken off their field, their students' field, and this beautiful new building put in place. Last week I stopped by at the benefits fair. I was pleased to see there were several employees taking advantage of that opportunity to learn more about the variety of benefits that are offered to our employees. And I got to admit, I learned a few things there myself, and I appreciate the effort in putting that benefits fair together. Earlier this week, election night to be precise, since my other board members were watching the results come in, I represented the board at the monthly PTA Palomar Council meeting. At the meeting, I touched on events that I was able to attend and encouraged families to attend the documentary, the showing of the documentary Angst. And I also extended a hand in partnership to the PTA to find areas where we can advocate at the state level during our respective legislative action days. So maybe as a board, we do advocacy work and the PTA does advocacy work. And if we could bring our voices together at the state level, the voice can be much stronger. I'm looking forward to working with the PTA on that. And lastly, we have our CSBA Annual Education Conference coming up in a couple weeks. And I'm excited to be able to attend that with the superintendent and fellow board members, Michelle O'Connor-Ratcliffe and TJ Zane, and our newly elected member, Ginger Couvret. Congratulations on your election. The annual conference is where board members develop professional growth. We learn about the exciting programs that other districts have established, gain or refresh knowledge on best practices in board governance, and compare products or services offered to schools to better our learning environment. And you'll get my full report on that meeting at the next meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Patel. It's been a very slow, uneventful month. I don't know all this excitement everybody's been talking about. Just kidding. Since the October 11th board meeting, October 15th to be precise, had a meeting here at the district office with Mr. Meisel, Ms. Peck, who else was in there? Mr. Little, with Siemens Technology. A great follow-on conversation and meeting. I met with met folks at the Student Safety Conference in Pasadena earlier this summer, and that meeting finally came to fruition here at the district office. There's a follow-up meeting in a few weeks here, and we're really moving forward, looking forward to getting potentially some really nice hardware for each of the schools throughout the district, some emergency notification type of hardware throughout all the schools. On October 16th, at the Red Ribbon Celebration and Luncheon in Mission Valley with members of our Safety, Wellness, and Advocacy Coalition. I think it's year 4 of my attending that luncheon. It's always a great celebration. On October 16th, the same day, but later that day in the evening, accepted the Red Ribbon proclamations on behalf of the district at the City of Poway City Council meeting. On the 17th, although maybe it was the 18th, you said 18th in your report, attended the POSD College and Career Fair at Rancho Bernardo High School. That was great. I was just sad to see that my alma mater was not there, and you two guys hanging out in your alma mater's booths. On the 20th, attended the Sunset Hills Halloween Carnival. I had a little bit of a vested interest in that. I saw my 2 little ones walking around all dressed up. It was a great time, a great community there at Sunset Hills. On the 22nd, also attended the college-bound meeting and forum. Very engaged community there as well, and I appreciated their feedback and the questions they asked of us. On the 23rd, also did the Los Pen BizTown interviews, and thankfully none of them were applying for our jobs. They might have actually stood a pretty good chance. On the 26th, it was a pleasure and a lot of fun attending the ribbon cutting at Stone Ranch Elementary, and sounds like I look forward to maybe attending another ribbon cutting there in 2020 with the addition of the new building there. So great work all around. On the 26th as well, later in the day, I attended the fall festivals at Turtleback Elementary, Westwood Elementary, and then because I had the time on my hands, so I cruised over and met up with Principal Lamaster at the RB Poway High football game. And much to Miss Couvret's chagrin, I stood on the Rancho Bernardo side for the entire game. Yeah, I know. There were some bad calls in that game. There were terrible calls in that game. Rancho Bernardo High should have won that. On the just last week on the 2nd, I attended Friday the close of what was basically Reality Week at Rancho Bernardo High School, and listened to a presentation discussion by Dr. Susan Ryder on mental health topics, self-care tips, suicide awareness, and tools and tips for students and those around them that could be struggling with these issues. So it's always a very important aspect, and you hear us talk about it often. It's not just about, even our consultant from Guidepost said today, it's not about physical security only in our campuses. It's about social and emotional wellness, and that was in keeping with the spirit of that. I also would like to extend my congratulations to Ms. Couvret on her election to the board. Welcome. We look forward to working with you. I want to thank the voters of Trustee Area C for their not just their votes, but what comes with that, the vote of confidence in representing them here on the board. But also just kind of a broader note that even though we're in a situation where we're currently elected by Trustee Area, each one of us has a broader responsibility to look out for the best interests of all of the schools in Poway Unified. It's in the name of our organization. It's a Poway Unified School District. And so if nothing else, it's a worthwhile reminder. Several of us just got elected by 3 different trustee areas, but we still are trustees for Poway Unified School District. And lastly, I also want to thank Mr. Sellers. And, he and I spoke during our very brief and precise 5-minute break that we had earlier, that I very much appreciated the fact that he and I, and from best I can tell, all of the individual candidates that ran for school board this election cycle kept their respective campaigns positive and didn't hit on one another. So that was refreshing to see as far as the candidates were concerned. So thank you very much. And again, I appreciate the opportunity to serve another 4 years. Dr. Patel. Not Dr. Phelps. Unless you want to go back to
Thank you, President Zane. I want to thank you once again, congratulate all of our everyday heroes and Team PUSD award recipients. Thank you for always going above and beyond for the benefit of our district, our schools, and our students. Our employees are truly what make PUSD so special. I am also thankful that the election season is now finally done. District superintendents have a support group, and we have to attend counseling every election cycle. So I am grateful that it is now done. We also have some student and staff recognitions to report, including Westview High School sophomore Sophia Wrighthouse, who was awarded the American Red Cross Youth Real Hero Award for displaying bravery and professionalism when she helped evacuate a burning apartment complex last year. I also encourage you to please look at the board packet for a full description of all of our recognitions. Today I had an opportunity earlier today to go to the Every Student Succeeding Award for AXA, and Westview student Jamie Jang, former Westview student who currently attends MIT now, received a $1,000 scholarship earlier this year, but will receive another $1,000 scholarship, and she was selected to represent all of Region 18, which is San Diego County, at the AXA State Leadership Summit. So congratulations to her. This month, our Studio 701 interns are highlighting the new Abraxas High School Farmers Market, which is held the first Wednesday of every month here at the district office in the Elements Cafe. You can go there and handpick some very fresh fruits and vegetables that they have grown there. It's truly a special learning opportunity for our students and our community. So let's take a moment to watch.
On the first Wednesday of every month, visitors to Elements Cafe will find the new farmers market, staffed by students from both the Diploma Bound and Transition programs at Abraxas High School.
And what you see out here are students trying new things and working hard, and also our transition students get to come out here in opportunities where they normally wouldn't, and then to see the two groups of people working together to problem solve and to be patient with one another and to teach each other.
The produce sold at the farmers market comes fresh out of the Abraxas garden, grown organically with homemade soil and an aquaponics system. The nutrients from the fish waste are used to fertilize the soil, and the filtered water is used to grow plants. The science of the garden is incorporated in the classroom. Then students applied their knowledge in a hands-on environment.
I thought it would just be manual labor, but it ended up being a big learning experience for me.
What inspired us really is that our kids that are here are hands-on learners, and we wanted to get out of the classroom. We've always taught a little differently here, and this was just a great opportunity.
Every morning, students tend the garden, planting, harvesting, caring for the fish, and more.
It was a learning experience because typically youths nowadays don't ever have to touch a plant in their life unless they're eating it. It's easy enough to say that you're going to go plant it and then have it grow, but it actually comes down to a wide variety of things when it comes to properly watering it, feeding it, the proper amount of sunlight, the proper amount of just density of the soil.
Throughout the program, students have discovered their passions and hopes for their careers.
Like when I'm having a rough day or like I'm stressed out, like my home life or just like regular life things, it helps to just like come out here and like be in nature, because like that's what I really like to do. I've always been into agriculture and animals, and it actually like made me realize that I like physical work and like harvesting things.
The next step was to start a farmers market to help fund the program for the future.
Look at this. It is so cool.
Customers noticed that the students' dedication towards agriculture is reflected in the quality of the produce.
I was like, wow, this looks better than Whole Foods. It does. It looks fresher. And, I mean, it's amazing.
I think it's wonderful. What a great opportunity for the younger generations to learn how to cultivate, grow their own vegetables.
Abraxas High School has donated over 5,000 pounds of produce. They hope to expand their garden and help support schools across Poway Unified. This is the Excellence in Education series. I'm Isha Doshi, Studio 701.
Such a fantastic program. I look forward to buying my fruits and vegetables next month. Kudos to our teacher, Bob Luckin, and the team at Abraxas, and great job to our Studio 701 interns, another beautiful piece that they created. Tonight you heard from Guidepost Solutions on our facility needs to ensure our students and staff continued safety and security. I want to thank Associate Superintendent Ron Little, Assistant Superintendent Greg Mizell, and their teams who led this effort. I know that there's still more work to be done, but at least we are on our path and we have a direction, and now to further develop our plan and implementation. So a huge note of appreciation to our PUSD Safety Planning Committee members who have been conveying every month, focusing on ideas and solutions and priority to address our safety and security challenges. Open enrollment is underway. I want to applaud the personnel department for their efforts. This is a huge undertaking for our thousands of employees. And for the first time, benefit selection is now available online via Benefit Bridge. I want to thank you for the health fair and numerous in-person trainings that were offered to our staff to make this process as smooth and easy as possible for our employees. I want to lastly extend my warm congratulations to our recently re-elected board members, Michelle O'Connor-Radcliffe, President TJ Zane, and our newly elected Ginger Koviet, who will be officially sworn in at next month's December 13th meeting. I also want to thank Trustee Charles Sellers for his service the past 4 years, and we'll have an opportunity to thank him further at the next board meeting. On behalf of our cabinet and district staff, we look forward to working with all of you on continuing and strengthening our mission of college and career readiness for all of our students. Thank you to all of our candidates who ran for school board. It shows how much that you care about our students, our schools, and that you are, like us, invested in the future of this district and our community. Lastly, I want to say thank you to all of our staff for the hard work that you did. We had a great, smooth opening of the school year, and it was a tough last several months. A lot of stuff going on, but I want and I hope that all of us have time to relax, rest over the Thanksgiving break, and spend time and enjoy time with our family and friends, and to really reflect on what we all have a lot to be thankful for. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Phelps. That concludes our regularly scheduled meeting this month. Our next regularly scheduled meeting will be held on Thursday, December 13th, 2018, here at 6 p.m. in the district office. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thank you. 8:57.